Reytan, Day 12. With morning dew a shade of crimson, and brazen smoke that spun and billowed, the remnant breaths of the dominion fell deep into the earth's soft pillow. The sun cut wounds like a thin sheet of metal into the bodies that now lay in rest. Throughout the land, devoid of any metal, with treachery embedded in its sunken chest. Whether 'twas famine, plague, or war, all conspired in one fell swoop to twist the knife into the core for death to serve its cynical rebuke. Somewhere else life flourished, but here the end was now in sight. All dreams and visions, hungry and malnourished, perished ere the morning light. The black figure of the breathless jester sat up in agony, with blood trickling down onto the silver skulls of his cap, once majestic, now torn and crumpled half of his crown. With crackle in his lungs and lesions on his arms, he stood up with a pained, woeful wail. Then turned he his dry eyes to scan the land around him, whilst struggling to inhale, his sword still firmly clenched by his stiffened and numb hand. In his and dead raven blood drenched, poised to defend till the end, he walked slowly through the emptiness before him, watching for signs of any mere life. But everywhere silence was calling, pierced by rough winds which still have not died. Half-frozen mud creaked neath his boots. The stench of rot made him feel sick. He walked mile after mile over tree roots that kept the mud firm and thick. Nothing, and then more horrid nothing, though he could hear some faint moaning somewhere. He pointed towards it for something to come at him through the air. He finally spotted some folk, writhing in pain on the ground, so covered he one with his own cloak, and next to him then he crouched down. Reytan, the man spoke with low strength. Save us from tyranny, neglect, and oppression. You've been born from our depths. You're one of us. You're our salvation. You've been sent by the gods to grant protection from King Sas, to spare us the beats of his rod. Save us, our brother. You must. I'm not who thou think'st I am, and neither whom I see in looking glass, mouthed this Reytan at the dying man, whose breaths were now fading fast. No selfless deed has e'er come from me. I've paid my path with the dead, yet still I see more walls before me, and lines of them straight up ahead. We peasants, servants and serfs, can ne'er be free from these masters of greed, lest we become them ourselves and copy them in every foul deed. A cockroach like me, with ambition, seeking fame, strength, love, or glory, gets burnt in the fires of perdition when the gods get bare of its story. Reytan peered at the corpse near his feet, then looked up to the welkin for riposte. His anger was now complete, and faith in his choices all lost. He started to yell and to howl, and swing his cracked sword at the air, then stabbed the ground with a growl and pulled at his blood-matted hair. He set out towards the castle gates, scowling, sneering and spitting about, horroring with much hostility and hate, blood dripping from his crooked mouth. Soon his black and red figure appeared at the courtyard of imperial decay. He searched long and hard, yet none was near, from the bell tower down to the ruined causeway. He then sneaked inside the royal chambers, careful not to make one audible sound, and deep within the throne room there he saw King Sass adjusting his dirty gold crown. All around him were jewels and more gold, strewn across the filthy cold stone floor, mixed in with the discarded bones and mould all the way up to the back door, where Reytan stood in smouldering stupor. The king had gathered his last wealth and feasted in its dirt no sooner than when his land had lost its health. On each of the two stately seats sat Tertius and Gabe from the knight's crew, servile to Sass since Duncan's defeat, sticking to him like hot glue. "Friends," the king spoke unto them, "vast is my realm of plenitude, and lustrous is my jeweled diadem. Fast to show my humble gratitude, I make you my guards of honor. Ever since that Reytan leech, good for no one, puny fawner, had abandoned me in dire need, you've shown me such servitude and principled loyalty to the crown. I place my trust in your good, knowing you shall not let me down. When the sun sets at night, go and find a fair few maids, for those that served before have died. Tell them they will get much paid."
"Glad to, sire," exclaimed Tertius. "We shall do as you desire."
He winked at Gabe with a grin most heinous, and threw some bones onto the fire.
"Let us dine some more, your royal highness. We shall fetch another trough,
and then celebrate your sterling kindness till the moon stays still aloft." And with this, the two stolid men got up and walked out through the front door, while Sass perused his filthy, squalid den and grasped his royal livery collar off the floor. He placed the heavy chain round his bulging neck and sat admiring how it made him glow, picking off each microscopic speck of dust that settled on his mantle cloak of indigo. Reytan's eyes were piercing the foul air, his stare so still it froze all time. The moment was preserved everywhere, his thoughts committed now to grandest crime. He lunged owl-like onto Sass and clutched the bulky chain with both his hands, then yanked it with all strength he's ever had to pull the gasping king into death's shadowland. He strained his every sinew and nerve till his knuckles turned blue-grey, hissing madly with much verve, draining the fat man's life away, till one final hoarse, long breath echoed through the vacant space, and one more being met its death, this time with a royal face. Reytan stepped back in mild shock to see the outcome of his art, dazed as if he had sleepwalked, feeling crude awareness in his heart. Sass is dead, of that I'm sure. But what a fear of consequence was my deed premature or inevitable circumstance? Who is here to view this now, when all around us sleeping dead? What I've done, I'll disavow if I'm judged by just my head. Tertius, Gabe, they will be back, and his body will go sour. Best that I be making tracks in a fraction of this hour. Reytan ran out like a man possessed into vastness of the day, heading into winds northwest, hoping to get far away. Heard he horses galloping behind as he tried to swiftly flee, and as he turned to ease his mind, he saw that there were none but three. He jumped ahead for safety's sake, but suddenly one gripped him tight. He thought he must have made a mistake, for he saw it was the knight. "You drag dirty scoundrel parasite!" barked Sir Duncan with a sneer, while Tertius and Gabe used their might to trap Reytan with their spears. They all pounced on him with zest, and by now he had no strength left. Tertius sat upon his broken chest, Gabe took care of all the rest. The knight stood proudly above his prey and threw his chin up to the sky. "You've assumed I'd rot away, or perhaps take leave to die. But these two fine gentlemen, they are sitting on your carcass. Hid me, fed me, freed me then, while King Sass was in a darkness. And now you gave me the best gift, getting rid of that fat fool. The winds of change will smoothly shift, and I shall take his place of rule." With this, he got the two turncoats to tie up Reytan with a heavy chain to the martyr post, where only days ago the royal hearsemonger died in so much pain. And as they started back to fort, the knight he turned upon his horse. "You've lost your case in nature's court. You cannot fight against its force." Reytan looked at the three figures moving steadily towards horizon, his stature ever more disfigured as he watched the half-moon rising. In the distance he could spy a pair of eyes that showed no hatred. The eagle of demise refused to fly. It now looked tired of life and jaded.